Hey folks, welcome to part one of two for our step-by-step guide for building a homebrew adventure. This is also part four of our Let's Build a Town video series. So if you really like this video for the adventures, go back and check out how to build an entire town or city for that adventure to take place in.
For this first part, we have 6 steps that we are going to guide you through and provide you with an example.
The first step that you want to figure out for your adventure is what type of adventure is this? Like, what's the genre of the adventure? And so some of those options might be, is it an escort quest or a combat center, like kill the bad guy at the end of it specifically? Is it recon? Is it a heist? Right? That's the kind of thing. You want to answer this first because it's going to help you answer all of your other questions along the way. For this adventure, we are going with a rescue. There's a group of miners in one of the obsidian mines, and they've all become trapped. So that's what it is that our characters have to do, rescue those miners. Now, as the GM, I keep the secret, I don't share it right away. I know that the reason that they're trapped is that there is an ancient evil trademark that has been awoken down in the mines. It doesn't have to be like an old lich or something like that. There's just something in the mines that has caused this problem.
The second question is it a tie-in or a one-off adventure? So is this something that's going to tie into the story overall? And that can even be in a subtle way that the players might not pick up on right away, but becomes apparent later on. Or is it a kind of standalone, it's not going to affect the greater story? For ours, it is going to be a tie-in to the larger story because they are going to be building up to dealing with whatever this ancient evil is that has been awoken.
And as a quick note, when you try to decide, is this a one-off or is it a tie-in? If you decide that it has nothing to do with the larger story, I would really ask, well, then why are you including it? Not every adventure has to be some big obvious way of tying into the story, just like you said. But if it has nothing to do with the general story, doing that too often can really lead to a campaign feeling like it's just dragging on and it's kind of stalled, and both the player characters and the players at the table questioning, why are we doing this? So if you can tie it into the story, we really highly suggest it for step number 2. Similarly, step number 3 is this adventure going to be related to one of your characters? Does it tie into their backstory or who they are? It may be something that the player knows is coming. It could be a complete surprise, like a child that they didn't know about, or a long-lost brother, or something that happened back home. If you're deciding to have some adventures that don't tie into the storyline, I really want you to consider having it tie into the character backstories for the people at your table. That's another way of making it make sense. We've decided that for this one, one of the player characters knows one of the miners that's stuck in the mine. Now, we're just coming up with this idea. We don't have our players yet, so maybe it's because the player is from that town, or maybe it's an old friend or a distant relation. We don't know yet. But we've decided it's going to tie in a small way by being an acquaintance or someone that they know. A big thanks to all of our patrons, and especially to Tucker. If you want to help support the channel and join our community, head over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative and check out the perks of being a patron.
So if you answered yes to the tie-in story related, it is good to think about how is this going to relate to the overall story. The answer for ours is yes, this is going to tie in. This ancient evil is going to be kind of a reoccurring theme that comes up. And also we're going to have them find a magical item. It's going to be a sword hilt that will then help them later on down the way. They're not going to realize it at the time, but hey, there's this really cool magical sword hilt that they pick up at some point in the mine.
Step number 5 is to be able to answer the question, why is the party going to do this? And I actually think it's kind of cool to have multiple reasons why, just to really help encourage them to follow the direction that you want them to go for your story, but it doesn't have to feel super railroady. So the 3 reasons why that they're going to go to the mine, you can just appeal to the idea that it's the right thing to do. And the player characters might come to that. There's a bunch of people that need rescuing. We're in this town. We're adventurers. Let's do it. It's the right thing. Secondly, there's that character, the player character, that knows someone that's stuck in the mine. So they're probably, I hope, going to want to go and rescue them. Thirdly, the reason why is that if we need to, we could have the mayor or the owner of the mining company offer a reward blatantly up front to encourage them to try to go. And your players might come up with their own reasons why. They might just be really curious as to what it is that happened, and saving people and getting paid is incidental. That's great if they have their own reasons why.
I think this is a step that oftentimes gets overlooked by game masters when you're building your adventures, is providing that little bit of motivation for your player characters. So then the players are feeling like it is character motivated why they're doing things, not just like, well, this is the plot hook that we've been given, so I guess we're going to do this. Steps 1 through 5 are kind of the pre-planning, and now step 6 is kind of a bridge between pre-planning and the next video, and that is, what is the GM's desired outcome?
I think it's important to come up with 3 desired outcomes. There's like the perfect, if the players do exactly what you want, this is what it is that's going to happen. So for us in the mine, that outcome A, that one that we would really like to have happen, is that the players rescue all of the miners and that they all survive. The mine at the end of the adventure is still operational, and the magical MacGuffin, the item, that sword hilt, has been discovered, all while they're down there and dealing with the ancient evil, the entity that's been woken up. However they decide to deal with it, that's the outcome that we're going for.
And then the kind of second outcome that's maybe the in-between is they rescue most or some of the miners, and in the process, the mine is no longer operational. So they cause a cave-in, they aren't able to deal with the monsters in there, so they just say, okay, well, we got everybody out, just don't go back in there.
Yeah. And then the third option that we have is that all of the miners are lost because our players kind of strike a deal with whatever that ancient being is, and they kind of sacrifice the mine and the miners in order to learn what's going on or curry favor from this creature. Everything's still resolved, but it's resolved in a very different way.
And one of the reasons we suggest doing these multiple different outcomes is you're going to be prepared to have a few things happen, but also it's going to prepare you, because you're not going to be able to prepare for everything that your players might come up with, but if you have an idea of kind of 3 different levels of outcomes, you're going to be able to kind of improv whatever your players come up with, the response to that.
Those are our first 6 steps, the pre-planning steps for beginning an adventure. And this part of building a town is a lot longer. So again, those 6 steps are: choose the type of adventure that it is.
Is it a tie-in or a one-off?
Is it character related?
Is it story related?
Why should they be going on this adventure?
And then what are the GM outcomes?
If you can answer those 6 questions, you're in a really great spot to go into the very specific aspects of building that adventure, which we're going to cover on the next Build a Town with Us video. Really hope that you liked this video and that it's something that you can use as you plan your adventures around your table. And by the way, this is great for Pathfinder, D&D, Starfinder, any Shadowrun, any type of system. It is a system agnostic step-by-step that we wanted to give you. Do you have a really important thing that you think is absolutely needed to keep in mind in the planning a homebrew adventure part? Go ahead and let us know in the comments what that would be.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you hit like and subscribe. Definitely go check out our How to Build a Town series that we are currently in the middle of. And until next time, I'm Dawn.
I'm Ryan.
And this is Roll for Initiative.
Bye.
Audio.
No.
The tiniest sound sync.
Yep.